Thanks to Scrol for sponsoring part of this video. So there's going to be a place in the future for both of these technologies, the Rabbit R1 and this is the Tab Ultra C Pro e-ink tablet. What are we calling the Rabbit R1? I can see a future where we want to offload any menial or uninteresting task to AI, and then we only have to engage with the apps which are truly a pleasure to use, and those which actually help us to complete our most human of tasks, those ones that we don't want to offload to AI. Now, it is early doors for generative AI, and I'm trying to make really intentional choices about where I do wish to use AI and where I don't in my personal and my professional life. For example, I want it to write quick questions in the classroom, but I don't want it to decide the structure of the lesson. I want it to quickly fetch reliable information, but I don't want it to think creatively about how to piece those things together into a script for YouTube. I want tech to help me think, but not to do it all for me so I can just veg out. I want AI to remove the friction so I can be free to follow those trains of thought which actually fascinate me. So I pre-ordered the Rabbit R1. It caused a massive stir at CES because it represents a new idea for a really sellable form factor, and it's a convincing future for only $200. And they're saying with no subscription as well. But I don't think this new AI tech is going to replace a keyboard and mouse. I don't think these things are becoming obsolete. What I do think is on the way out though is the slab of chocolate smartphone. Well, the idea of the Rabbit R1 is, well, think of it like a virtual assistant who can interact with your apps for you. It can do those simple tasks that you don't have the time or the patience to do. And the era of there's an app for that is going to be replaced with the era of I'll get my bot to do that. The Rabbit is attempting to be an everything app, but in a really novel way. It's trying to be one place that can access all of the other apps. It's interesting to imagine a future where app designers, they aren't focused on user experience and user interfaces, but actually AI interfaces, making it seamless for the AI to interface with the app. I guess we're talking here about AI agents. Microsoft have a system called Power Platform, which can build bots which can do specific tasks. But this takes it to a next level. This is a large action model, or LAM, or one bot to do all of your app functions. But I think that there will always be a place for apps which are just a pleasure to use, that we do want to engage with, and we'll intentionally be making that choice when to enjoy using an app, and an app like YouTube or chess.com, and when to just let the agent do it, maybe like for organizing a ride or for ordering a pizza. In just the same way, we'll be choosing when to be immersed in digital experiences and when to be engrossed in the ultimate analog 3D experience. That's reality, of course. There is a place for deep thinking generative AI. And at the digital minimalist end of the scale, a digital analog like the Nomad or the Tab Ultra C Pro. We're going to want to let AI take care of a lot of the method so that we can focus on the stuff which is a real pleasure to contemplate. Scrol is an app that allows you to do that. It's a platform which starts from desktops on which you arrange cards, rather like a Zettelkasten. I've used things like this before, but this is the most free and open version that I've yet to try. And this part of the video is sponsored by Scrol. And I'm actually reading my script on my screen and my teleprompter that I've written, and I'm viewing it in Scrol. It's here on my Tab Ultra C Pro, and is also on my Galaxy Z Fold 3 as well. Imagine all of your thoughts laid out on cards, and each one neatly indexed into a cabinet for easy access. You've recorded links between them, and you've carefully categorized them into drawers for each of your projects or areas that you're responsible for. Some drawers are just for your thoughts, and they haven't yet, or maybe never will be, made into projects. It all sounds great, right? Well, that's the idea of Zettelkasten. It's a forerunner to Tiago Forte's idea of a second brain. It's a place where you can access your knowledge and your thinking so that it can be brought to front of mind in seconds to use in whatever professional task you're engaged in right then and there. The problem is, how do you access that cabinet wherever you are? Well, you can't really, can you? And in the 21st century, who has the patience to actually take those handwritten cards and then type those words out again when you want to reuse that quote you found or work up that paragraph that you jotted down into a finished article? And this is where Scrol comes in. It's a thoughtfully designed personal knowledge management system, or PKM. It's another tool in the digital minimalist's analog digital toolkit. Scrol works just like my mind. I have a desktop in which all my projects are laid out at a glance. And like my desk, it might get a little bit busy, but there's one-click archiving. Or of course, you can just move the clutter away in the infinite canvas. And you can access the notes anywhere, on any device, either on the web, on mobile, or desktop apps. Anyone who needs to spend time developing their thoughts into sophisticated webs of knowledge will benefit from this. Anyone who prefers to be able to switch from a zoomed out overview of their thoughts, where they can visually organize the structure of their work, and then zoom right into focus mode and work on the individual lines of text. Whilst getting to know Scrol over the last few weeks, it's reminded me of when I was working on my first books, and I did things like print out every chapter so that I could lay out the entire sequence on my conservatory floor and to move pieces around and rechange the order. Or when I wanted to insert some notes, I would print them out and physically cut them out and then paperclip them to the sheet where I wanted them to go. And then I would spend hours of Control-C, Control-Ving to get things organized in the computer. In Scrol, I could have just moved the cards around and moved each individual block of text. And when I'm done, I can hit export as either Markdown or PDF format. I've been exploring a range of PKMs recently, and many of them are adding visual boards, which allow you to zoom out and see your thoughts as a sort of mind map. But what makes Scrol different is that it starts from the infinite canvas, and then it drills down into the sophisticated note-taking features. And moving between each view is frictionless because you can simply make links with the plus key. So you can quickly link to any existing card, or you can make a new card just from that drop-down menu. So you should come over and try Scrol. You'll find it in the link in the description. If you fancy a note-taking system designed with simplicity and speed in mind, you'll really love this. If you like visual organization of your thoughts combined with powerful note-taking features, or if you like a place for your thoughts that's a pleasure to use and has a very shallow learning curve, this is for you. What's more, if you're already using a PKM, you can bring all of your notes into Scrol by importing the Markdown file. Scrol are new, but they're committed to developing their tool with the feedback of their users to make it a place for all of your knowledge management needs. The core principles of an intuitive user interface, free from clutter, with a spatial canvas to organize your notes and to allow you to solve problems. They're kept in mind as they explore professional workflows and they develop this incredible app. Try it, I'm sure you'll want to commit to it long term. Where Rabbit is trying to be an everything app, Scrol is focused on being a one-thing app, a place to keep and explore your thoughts. And once I've finished my journey of thought, I can zoom back out and I can see this infinite web of thinking, and from that I can return instantly to that intersection with the interesting idea that I maybe just passed by on my way. And that's what I mean by rabbit holes. We love that experience, starting trains of thought and just seeing where they go. Just like those rabbit holes, it's non-linear, but it does afford you the flexibility to write long form when you want to. And it's a place that I can go to here on my big desktop with the lovely Cherry MX keyboard, or on my little mobile thinking station, the Tab Ultra C Pro, and think with the keyboard. Thanks very much once again to Scrol for sponsoring that part of the video. So here are two important terms that you'll probably be hearing in the years to come. Most of the generative AI that's been publicized recently have been large language models, or LLMs. These basically have been trained on lots of stuff that we have written, and it's used that as a model for what it writes. So large language is lots of reading. Model, it emulates what it's read. Rabbit R1 uses a large action model. So it models after lots of actions that it's trained on, and it's learned lots of ways to interact with apps that it can go ahead and emulate. So if you think about it, that's really what we need now. The generative AI can write the text. Well, okay, now what we need is for it to go ahead and embed it into the PowerPoint or Word file with the formatting that I stipulate. And that's coming, I think, from Microsoft as well. Recently, I read Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, and it's definitely a recommend. It's made a really big impact on my thinking and on my content. Just the way that he constructs arguments using story and evidence and discussion, it's a masterpiece of writing, and it's a really interesting read. Even if you're not that interested in the subject matter, but just as an example of how to write well and how to sustain a point and how to convince people, I'm completely won over to his way of thinking. But at the same time, my increasing use of AI is at odds with that digital minimalism message. I would argue, however, that employing AI can be done intentionally, and that's one of the key recommendations of the book. Add digital things into your life after careful evaluation of their utility and their benefits, versus the cost to your time and attention. And my intention is that using one of these large action models, these LLMs, will allow me to do the things that I want to do online, and let the tedium be handled by AI. I'll be more productive without the confusing and overwhelming job of switching between apps and storing bits of information here, there, and everywhere in this app, on that scrap, on this device, or in your head. That's the promise anyway. I'm intending to allow Rabbit to go and deal with the purely functional apps, leaving me to interact with the apps that give me some joy. Apps like Scrol and devices like the Supernote and the books. And those things allow me to focus on the hard thinking, the deep work that is actually replenishing and satisfying and a real joy to do. And if it isn't this little $200 Rabbit R1 that does it, then something will. And it will do it soon, because the Rabbit R1, or the intention of it, seems to have really captured the imagination of the online community. I'm a creative person, and I've been waiting for this for a long time. I've been wanting time to focus, and I am very disciplined with my time. When I set aside hours to think or to write, I can get into that flow at a moment's notice. But when that focus is broken by tedium, which often starts with, which app should I choose to do that on? That's frustrating. And I hope that with large action models, I can make more intentional decisions. Decisions without that FOMO of, have I chosen the right app here? Without the distractions placed there by the corporate teams that are taking advantage of me and my time in the attention economy. And I can keep going down the rabbit holes of my own choosing, and I can keep them high level and intellectually rewarding. So I'm not saying that the AI and the human sides of your thinking are totally separate. You're going to want to be able to ask your agent what your thoughts were about that meeting, about that reading that you did. As AI becomes more integrated, prompts like, remind me what I was thinking about that book by Cal Newport were, that'll be common. And your agent will summarize the content of the notes that you made on it. So there is a real place, I think, for AI being able to access this knowledge that you input into a knowledge management system like Scrol. And that's a real opportunity for app developers to have the AI second brain, which responds using the knowledge that you have put into it. Imagine after 7 years of recording your thoughts into a PKM, you could ask the AI to bring up all your thoughts about intentional tech and complete them into a narrative structure to form the basis of a YouTube script. So I'm currently trying to train my GPTs. I use OpenAI's GPT Plus subscription, and it's called GPT Builder. And what I'm trying to teach them is to know the exam specifications that I teach, and then have it build me questions and other resources which are totally tailored to these courses. And it's proving to be more difficult than I thought it would. It always seems to default to the things it knows rather than using the documents that I've provided for reference. I'm hopeful that'll improve in the future as it becomes more integrated and gets to know you and the important things to you and the important things to your work. I'm also hopeful that the rabbit will be able to take notes via voice command and then enter them into my PKM system of choice and then organize them so that they're ready for the next time I log in to a deeper thinking session. So it seems a little weird at first, the idea that it will use your apps for you. But when you think about it like that, when you could say to it, please can you put this thought into this board and this card in the Scrol app, I think that's going to be really quite powerful. So that's where I see tech going for the next decade. Tech contributing to the balance that we all seem to be seeking. Digital and analog, aesthetically interwoven, allowing your mind the freedom to wonder whilst taking advantage of the latest powerful tech. I imagine us choosing to be immersed in the virtual world or to be free to think in a meditative state. And crucially, to take real joy from both of those things.